3rd, 2022. It's 5:03. Morning Council Chambers. Calls order and the roll call, please.
Councilmember Yoder.
Yes.
Commission Member Liram.
Yes.
Commission Member Fink.
Yes.
Commission Member Kemp.
Yes.
And Commission Member Memberto's excused. She had called in.
Okay. Approval of the agenda. At this time, the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority can act to approve or amend the agenda. You need a motion to that effect, correct?
Motion to
Motion,
approve.
Frida, seconded.
Second it.
Seconded. Any discussion over the motion?
No.
You want to call roll?
No, he can just take it doesn't need a roll call.
Favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. And then to public hearing, we have none, right?
Right.
Public comment. At this time, Chair will ask if there's any public comments. Any public comments? Does the Chair ask? And all right, no public comments. Correspondence. This time, the Chair will ask if any correspondence has been received to be included in the record.
No correspondence.
No correspondence. Approval of minutes. At this time, the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority can act to approve the December 16, 2022 meeting minutes. See the motion, correct?
I motion.
Motion and seconded, yeah, in favor. Or any discussion over that?
Who made the motion, please?
Corinne?
Okay.
And, Vito, second. And
Okay.
we discussed it and everybody said aye. So it's passed. Okay. Financial reports.
Excuse me, just one question to the minutes.
Go ahead.
We had a motion that was approved last time to encourage the city of Manistee and Little Rip Holdings to improve the area of the Gateway project. Has that been followed up in any way?
Not yet because of the holidays, and once we approve these minutes officially, then I'll give them to the city manager and they'll get included in the council packet, and I'll also make sure that he points that out in his weekly update to city council.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And just for future, in reference to the motions that we make, they do not automatically take until it goes through council for whatever we decide one way, okay?
Okay.
I mean, it's not gonna happen overnight, you know what I'm
Okay.
saying? You know,
Thank you.
sure. Then financial reports, I believe. At this time, the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority can act to approve the financial reports. That's the balance sheet and the revenue and sharing. Or revenue and expense, I'm sorry. Have we did that, or?
Well, I included them in your packet.
Yep.
They really haven't changed much from the last meeting a couple weeks ago. There was a bill from Fishbeck that you'll see showing up under professional and consulting services. There's some more outstanding bills that'll show up probably next month once we get them paid. But the basic financials really haven't changed from when we looked at them the last time.
All right. Now that's the balance sheet or the revenue and expense?
So the balance sheet is here, shows a fund balance of about $32,500, and then the revenue and expense for the period shows a net of about $1,245, but there's more expenses to come in still, or will be,
Okay,
on a variety of things.
all righty. Okay. Everybody see it on your screens, you understand? Do we need a motion to accept the reports? Entertain a motion to accept those reports, I would.
I motion to accept.
There you go. And seconded, Megan, second?
Yep.
So motion by Megan, second by Corinne.
Yeah, well, either,
Second, but
either
yeah.
or,
He was assigning me.
whatever. Okay, any discussion over the motion? If not, all signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. And it passes. All right. And then we'll move along. You have anything else under expenses or anything?
No.
Under old business, we have none. And then under new business, we have A, the approval of the Brownfield plan for the River Street Hotel redevelopment project. The Brownfield Redevelopment Authority previously received an application for redevelopment project funding from River Street Hotel, LLC, for proposed 5-suite hotel and restaurant located at 348 River Street, which is the former Reedmore and Music Vault. The Brownfield Authority consultant Fishback prepared a Brownfield plan that has been reviewed by the city. The plan anticipates $227,675 in developer-eligible activities and $170,277 in additional eligible activities, primarily for the local Brownfield revolving fund. At this time, the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority can act to approve the Brownfield plan contingent upon the DDA agreeing to give up its tax capture and the city and Brownfield Authority and developer entering into a development agreement.
So, Mr. Chair, if I might, we've got lots of people here who can answer questions. I want to run through something briefly, but we have our consultant from Fishback, Roman Wilson, and we have James Lewis and John, last name, Faber, from the development team to be able to answer questions as well. I know there may be some technical questions on the Brownfield plan and some of the numbers. I think Roman and I are probably best to answer those. But I do want to just talk a little bit about the process. We pushed this plan through about as fast as we possibly could to kind of accommodate the development timeline, which isn't a bad thing. But we weren't able to get the city attorney to complete his review of the draft development agreement. Normally that would be on this agenda at the same time. So that's going to have to come at a future meeting. It doesn't necessarily impinge on the project because the Brownfield plan is what is important, but that development agreement has to be approved by the Brownfield Authority. The developer has to agree to it. They haven't seen a draft of it yet, and then the city council will have to approve it at a future meeting. So that's one of the things that will still be coming, and we'll have to schedule another meeting probably yet here in January. Also, the Downtown Development Authority needs to pass a resolution to give up their tax capture on the increased taxable value. And we've drafted that resolution. I think they're going to be considering it at their meeting this week. So that also needs to happen, or there's no tax increment to capture. So those two things are things that have to happen. City Council is having a public hearing on the plan at their January 17th meeting, assuming it gets approved here this evening. They also are going to consider approving this plan at their January 17th meeting, so both of those will be on there. And then finally, the Michigan Economic Development Corporation and the Michigan Strategic Fund also must approve the plan because it's asking for school tax capture. So there's a lot of approvals that have to happen. Ours is just one step in that process, but it's probably the key one because if it doesn't get approved at this level, then it doesn't really move forward. We included in the agenda packet the Brownfield plan that was put together by Fishbeck based on the information that the developer had provided, their expertise in preparing Brownfield plans, and it addresses all the required steps and components by the state. So what I'd like to do is have Roman run through the Brownfield plan, and then I'd like to have John and James answer, and Roman answer any questions that you guys might have, if that's amenable. So Roman, would you like to run through the plan? It's up on the screen, so you can kind of go through that.
Thanks, Ed. I will scroll through this. In the previous meeting, we walked through the application to some degree, and you're kind of familiar with the investment and what they're proposing at the River Street project. A couple-story development with 5 suites for a hotel in the upper level with a restaurant in the lower. As most of you know, being in the area, it's sat pretty dormant. Portion of this, so revitalization of a used structure definitely fits in the framework of what a Brownfield Redevelopment Authority would like to see happen in their community. The eligible activities are consistent with what you would see for a project like this, the site infrastructure and site preparation and demo activities, and the pre-demo surveys and due diligence are all standard that you would expect to see on something like this, so that those costs are not out of whack by any means. The property is functionally obsolete as determined by the community assessor, and that facilitates the brownfield status, making it eligible for these activities to be conducted and for brownfield plan to be prepared, and then for there to be reimbursement. The status of functionally obsolete also permits them to pursue a OPRA, or Obsolete Property Rehabilitation Act tax credit that they will be pursuing, and have got that already in motion. That's a 12-year tax abatement that basically eliminates the ability to capture local taxes, but during that same framework, assuming that the state approves the work plan that will be prepared subsequent to this plan approval, state tax capture will happen throughout the duration of the project. Once the tax abatement is done at the local level, then local taxes will be captured for just a small window of time. The plan is roughly 14 years with respect to the 12-year tax abatement, a couple years for eligible activity reimbursement, and then as permitted under statute, five years following the reimbursement, the authority can capture an equivalent to the amount of eligible activities that costs that were reimbursed to the developer and city, however that is, or up to 5 years, whichever's earlier. So that's what that 170,000 is in there, and it's a good thing because it's deposited into a local revolving fund that can be used to help assist other projects that come up into the city's jurisdiction, and they can assist with due diligence or demo, whatever eligible activities that would be approved under a brownfield plan for another project. If you've had a chance to walk through the brownfield plan, I won't go through everything, but I'm happy to answer questions. But the standard format that we have here kind of runs through what the development will entail. Like I said, the application included that information. The tax the tax breakdown of, well, first the eligible activities are summarized in the table. You'll see that you get demolition comprising 119. There's pre-demo at 6,000. Public infrastructure and asbestos, lead, mold abatement about 50,000 combined. So in all, you're looking at roughly 180,000. Then when you have a 15% contingency with the brownfield plan and 381 work plan preparation costs and implementation of these, once the plans are approved, there's a process of the reimbursement. So there needs to be proper submittal of documentation that the eligible activities were completed and they're consistent with the brownfield plan that was approved. That will have to go through a review process, and Fishbeck will be doing that in conjunction with Ed and the finance group to ensure that that is consistent again with the plan. There's an admin fee that is included in this for the authority or for finance, and basically how that is structured in this particular brownfield plan is that would be an upfront admin cost to the development team because there isn't, you can only capture admin off of local taxes, and because there's a 12-year window where those taxes are being abated, you can't capture anything for admin. So there will be a fee for the developer up front to cover that admin, to cover the city's expenses to go through that. However, that fee can be reimbursed to the developer subsequent to the tax abatement. I know I'm saying a lot and it might be going in one ear and out the other, but happy to answer questions. So all of this is consistent with the way that brownfield plans are put together, depending on the scenario of the incentives that are stacked and the nature of the project details. So nothing really out of the ordinary with any of this. I guess.
Question.
Go ahead.
If you don't mind. This $170,277 in additional eligible activities, primarily for the local Brownfield revolving fund. So as I heard you explain, that amount of money at this point in time is there for a developer that wants to come in and, let's say, tear down a building and needs help. We can say, hey, we can help you.
Yeah, so we'll have to just know that that it's tacked on at the end of the plan, so you wouldn't actually see those funds until the developer's been reimbursed for their eligible activities. So the tail end of the duration of the project, that additional capture will be placed in there, but it can be used at the discretion of the authority for development projects that you'd like to assist. If it was determined to be some sort of grant scenario or a loan, low interest loan, yeah.
Well, the reason I ask is because I think we talked, or maybe we did a year or so ago, about having, or is this something new, having something such as that for a developer that comes in and does need help, that we could afford, you know, we can give you this at 10% or something, we can help you. But I like this idea. This is working out.
What it does is it does streamline things too, because if you go through the state process, you have the ability to control those resources,
right,
and you can improve them at the local level, and they don't require state approval.
Yeah.
So it does expedite things, because in the scenario we're in, we're approving it locally, and then it's going to go to the state. So it gives you some flexibility to pursue some things maybe a little more expediently, and just it's another tool to have available.
And Roger, as we mentioned, the Hampton Inn is the first project that we did this on. We didn't do it for the South Washington one.
Okay.
So this is really a long-term play. This fund won't even be established. I won't be working for the city any longer before this fund gets established, but it'll be there for future generations to be able to use to help assist with development. So we're going to try to build this into every plan that we can to some degree, just because it's another tool in that toolbox.
At least we got it started.
Exactly. Right.
So we can pat ourselves on the back for that.
Yep.
I mean, for the future. Go ahead, sir. I'm sorry.
But help me understand how those 170,000 are related to this project.
Basically, once the development is completed, there will be a bump up in taxable values. So there's a new tax increment that's created. That's what's being captured, projected to be captured to pay back eligible expenses.
That is the 222, 226.
Yep. And so under statute, that same process can be available at the tail end of a brownfield plan to basically enable a brownfield authority to establish a local revolving fund. And there's stipulations. You can't just keep capturing forever. You can, how it's permitted is you can capture up to the amount of eligible activities that were approved for reimbursement to the developer, or up to 5 years, whatever occurs first. So the 170 doesn't actually go up to they theoretically could go to you could go to 220, but you have to look at, are you going beyond 5 years, or
It's a number.
yeah.
So the developer has eligible expenses here about 226,000.
Right.
And that will be captured through the tax system.
Correct.
So the 170,000, is that money that goes to the developer, or does it go?
It does not.
It goes to the Brownfield Authority. So this local Brownfield redevelopment revolving fund is a fund that the Brownfield Authority will have control over once it starts to get funded. It doesn't go to the developer.
So that's additional TIF money. So after the developer's reimbursed for their $227,000, then that additional money will come as TIF money, and that will get redirected into our
Revolving
redevelopment
fund, correct.
revolving fund.
Is there
Okay.
any,
But this is new. We haven't done this.
We did it for the Hampton Inn.
Okay.
Yep.
Second time.
Yep.
Okay. I'm just getting myself.
Yeah.
so is there any money from that fund that goes to the developer in this particular case?
No. So what this revolving fund will do is let's say there was $500,000 in the revolving fund. There's certain activities that a local Brownfield authority can use that money for. So maybe a developer comes and says, hey, I've got this great project, but I really don't have the resources right at this time because I'm still lining up my finances to do some of the early due diligence. They could ask the Brownfield authority for a loan that would then get paid back, and you'd draft up an agreement. But there's other activities too, and Roman can talk about that this fund can be used for. That's just an example. So it just provides additional opportunities for the Brownfield Authority to help assist in redevelopment projects.
Yeah, understood. Understood, sir.
And if you look at, Roman,
Okay.
maybe go to the TIF tables that show when that's being captured so they can kind of see that visually.
What's that? Oh, all right. Yeah, that's something new, Megan.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, we were talking.
Might have to
like you
zoom
say,
that in a
come
little bit.
Zoom this in here.
Help or something, you know.
Can you read that okay?
Getting
I'm just
the
kidding.
details.
Should be pretty.
No, if you could make it a little smaller, yeah.
You have to zoom across the bottom.
That's all right. Come on, we can't waste time because council's gonna come in and kick us out.
Oh, we got time. We're still good. It's only 5:20.
All right,
We're getting there.
yeah.
You can make those bookmarks go away too if you want to click that little arrow to go down. Yeah, there you go.
Bookwork, if you went through it, their program that they sent us is really, really thorough. I've never seen one so thorough.
These tables are cumbersome, but they are the state format, so we have to use those. But basically, I'm looking at TIF Table 2 in your document, but you can look up at the screen if you want. But there's an initial beginning balance. That's that 227,000, and if you go down that same column, you'll see these are consistent costs with the table that's in the narrative. So you'll have the Eagle or pre-approved activities through Eagle, and then the MEDC or non-environmental costs. So those are accounted for in that column, and then as you progress to the right on the table, you'll have a breakdown per year of what the captured taxes will be, and basically those will go against those costs over time. And essentially, you know, the project will start capturing taxes in '24 because the development will be completed, you know, next year. So there'll be a new assessed value at the tail end of the year. The taxable value is adjusted. Captured taxes then start the following year. And then that just carries out through the duration of the plan. And it basically extends out to, you know, roughly 2037, I believe, on this. And then after 2037, you'll see that there's capture for the revolving loan fund, which is
On the time to cash it in. Yeah, that's a good idea.
so it's roughly, you know, 19 years total plan, but that factors in the extra for the local Brownfield deposit in their fund.
Sure. Is there any more that you have, or any other questions from the board?
Well, I think since we've got the developers here, if you have questions of them, I think that would be great. And then, Roman, I want you to talk after the questions are done about another topic. But do you have any questions for John or James? I know, Ryder, you had a question about rooms, didn't you?
Yeah, so I've looked at the documentation here, and first of all, this is a really good project. I'm really happy this is happening in the city.
Mm-hmm.
So what we all want to see is that we want to make sure, or speaking for myself, as a member of the committee here, I want to make sure that this project is going to happen. right? We don't want to see a project that starts demolishing, taking out asbestos, doing all those things that are necessary, and then for some reason it stops, and we have a building without a roof on. So I understand that it's not my job as a member here to look at detail at the plans, but I can't help doing that because I have practiced architecture for 50 years. So my first question to you, I have two questions really. One is about fire escape and fire safety. And the other one is about a simple question. To my knowledge, a room that doesn't have a window is not the bedroom. So if you could address those two questions.
If you could go to the podium too so it can pick up on the mic, that'd be great.
Yeah, just your name and address, and if you could do, I would appreciate it.
Yeah, hi, my name is James Lewis. I work for Pinnacle Construction Group out of Grand Rapids. I live in Grand Rapids, Michigan at 105 Newberry Street, Northeast Grand Rapids, 49503. I'm actually an architect by training, but that's not my role in the project. So to answer kind of, you asked two questions, but you also wanted to make sure that the money, we're not demoing things before the project's really going to happen. So let me address that one first, and we'll get into the more technical questions. But in the grand scheme of things, we're applying for historic tax credits as well. So it's got to go to the state. We've applied to the state for the designation. Then it goes to the federal level. And before the MEDC will give us, and we're also applying for MEDC, Community Revitalization Program money. And before the MEDC will give us that money, it has to go through the Part 1 and the Part 2 state and federal historic nominations. So that all to say we can't demo a single thing until it makes it through all of that, which comes well after all of your approvals will happen. So there'll be a kind of a big closing, I would say, in April or May if we're lucky. At which point the MEDC will say, yes, you have received your historic designations, great. The bank will say, you have received, the approval from the MEDC, so we're going to give you a loan, and we'll have approval from the Brownfield Authority, we'll have approval of the OPRA, and everything has gone according to plan, and then we'll start demoing. So
this is square one.
This is square one. First of many public meetings and approvals. Yeah.
Well, did he answer your question, sir?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay. Well, answer his questions then.
Okay, on the fire protection, fire escape questions, the building's going to be fully sprinklered. We're introducing a sprinkler system to it. We're adding a back fire escape up to the second exterior fire escape to the second floor, which will also be sprinklered with a dry system, and then we have the existing staircase out the front of the building, and that combination meets the code requirements for fire protection and escape and travel distance. Does that answer your question on that one?
Okay, yes.
Yeah, and then a bedroom is not a bedroom. It is not incredibly relevant with extended stay hotels. You don't need a window in every bedroom for this type of building.
You don't?
You don't. Could bring that up with the code reviewer if you want to at some point in the future.
Well, in your opinion, is that a good quality product when you sell a studio apartment or a studio?
Well, these are short-term rentals, right? And someone's going to be there for a couple days, maybe a week. It's not someone's primary residence. And I do build also multifamily buildings with bedrooms that aren't on the exterior, and it's
I disagree with that. I don't think that there is allowance for that in the code to do a residential building with a bedroom that's not a window. That's not a bedroom, it's a den.
All I can tell you is that it's legally permissible and within the code, and it's been approved in multiple jurisdictions.
So according to your business plan, is this a good idea to have rental units with bedrooms without windows?
Absolutely, because our clientele is very interested in maximizing the amount of people who can stay at the place at the same time, and they aren't incredibly concerned whether they have a view to the outside or not. You know, they're there to enjoy Manistee and the outdoors and go to the beach and, you know, all that stuff. They're not really in the bedroom hanging out.
Yeah.
So my question is, Ed, does this comply with the City of Manistee's city rental registration program and the regulations that are currently in place?
So it's gonna be a hotel. So hotels they're not covered by our rental registration program.
No.
So it's gonna be
Commercial, it doesn't need to.
it's a hotel, it's not a
different
rental.
rating.
Yep.
And the other thing, I think Viter's concerns are very legitimate, but our board doesn't review that. The people that administer our building codes, which is Safe Built, will review the plans and make sure that they're legal.
Well,
So
we
there's
could
another,
that-
what's that?
Put that in there as a suggestion that.
Well, it's not a suggestion, it has to get code approval through our building. The building inspector will approve the mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and floor plan. And if it doesn't meet code, they won't approve it. So that there's another level of review that will review exactly for this.
Yeah.
It's not like this is just gonna get built without having code review.
Oh, no, I wouldn't think so.
So,
I wouldn't think so.
so again, that's just another set of eyes on this, and if there's a problem, they'll let the developer know and they'll take care of it, otherwise the project won't get built. I can assure you, Safe Built
Yeah.
knows the codes, in and
Right,
out.
Understood. How about that, sir? Are you satisfied?
I am satisfied, yes.
All right. Any questions from the ladies? Not about the kitchen or anything? I don't know.
Probably, but it's really not my role to decide their kitchen.
Anything else you'd like to share with us?
Let me know outside of the meeting.
So just so everybody is aware, I think I mentioned, the development and reimbursement agreement. So we have to get that back from the attorney. You guys have to see it, have your attorney review it, and it'll come before this at another meeting, and it'll come to city council at another meeting. It wasn't possible to get it done prior to this, given the aggressive timeline, but that shouldn't make a big difference. That sounds like you guys aren't gonna start demo or anything, and we've had issues before where developers wanted to get started, but they would have to get pre-approval from the state. It doesn't sound like that's gonna be an issue here, because you're not gonna get started until you have all the approvals, so. Which actually makes it, I think, a little bit easier from that standpoint. So, I think I mentioned it, this will be on the agenda for city council on the 17th. One or more of you guys might wanna be there, for that, so assuming it passes here in a little bit, so. Does anybody have any other questions of the developers, or?
Something else, sir?
Yeah, just one more question.
Go ahead.
All right.
Yeah, talk, go ahead.
Just to get a little bit more background, could you provide us with some reference projects, similar projects that you've done before?
You know, this is really our first go at an extended stay, small-term rental hotel. Our partners here have some Airbnbs that they have successfully managed in the past, but really this is kind of a new product and market. You know, I think the Airbnbs, VRBOs proved out that people want more rooms than you can get at a traditional hotel and are looking for a different kind of experience than a traditional hotel provides, and you know, we're trying to fill that niche so people stop. Or, you know, we're not going to solve the Airbnb problem, right? But we're got 5 units.
Could this project be converted into an Airbnb?
There would be. I mean, there's no need. We're going to be marketing on that platform as well as other platforms. So it.
Victor, it's commercially zoned, so it's a commercial. It doesn't follow the same guidelines as Airbnb, but it'll be acting and it'll have the same demographics as an Airbnb or a short-term rental. Does that make sense? people that are looking for Airbnbs will go here just as much as they may go to a hotel or wherever. It's just, they get to choose where they want to stay. But as far as we're concerned, this is a commercial regulated.
I see, as far as we're concerned, it's a good idea. What he's doing is rehabilitating a torn down building.
James, can you
We
just?
try to work as much as we, excuse me, am I
Go ahead.
okay?
No, go ahead.
Well, another answer to another of your questions, would it be possible if the company were to say they would put $20,000 in escrow? If something were to happen that they pulled out, that money would take care of their business?
So
And
let
if
me-
they didn't, they
yeah.
could give it back once it's completed.
Well, let me address that. There'll be a development and reimbursement agreement coming forward, which will have the protections that you're talking about. It probably won't have an escrow requirement, but there's other mechanisms in
Well,
there.
you know what I
to-
mean, though.
Yeah, but
You know,
that's why I mentioned in my memo that isn't done yet, but there will be something. But I think, Vito, I'm not sure if James answered your question. Pinnacle Construction is a big company. They've done lots of other projects. Can you talk about some of the other projects that you've done, even though it may not be this exact thing?
Yeah, I mean, we develop, around $30 million of construction a year. Some similar projects are, we recently converted the old St. Joseph Seminary building in Grand Rapids into 53 affordable apartments with one of our other partners there. We have a building right next door to our headquarters, which is also a historic building that's going to be converted into 16 apartments and 30,000 square feet of office space.
That's enough, guy. We can't move it. I mean, we're on a time base anyhow. Do you have any other questions, ladies or Vito? No, that sounds like a good plan and a good luck as far as I'm concerned, right? Ed, is that enough for him then?
It's up to you guys.
You can take your seat, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? If not, at this time, the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority can act to approve the Brownfield plan contingent upon the DDA agreeing to give up its tax capture and the city and the Brownfield Authority and developer entering into a development agreement. So I would need a motion to approve this plan.
I'll make that motion.
And second, and further discussion over the
Vidar,
motion?
did you second?
Yes.
Oh, thank you.
Any discussion over the motion? If not, you want to call the roll to this? It's a little more important. Or-
Sure. Authority member Kemp.
Yes.
Yeah.
Authority.
I'm not used to that title.
How about member?
Yes.
Member Fink.
Yes.
Yeah.
Member Yoder.
Yes.
Member
Yeah.
Leadham. No, I'm all tongue tied. All right, so it's unanimous. Thank
Okay.
you.
So that passed. All right. All right, moving on to staff report. The staff will update the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority on the status of current projects and any other information the commission should be aware of. And with that thought, I will turn it over to Mr. Bradford.
Okay, so I'm going to ask Roman, have you heard anything on the Brownfield plan for the Hampton Inn?
Yeah, you guys.
Did you hear back from?
Talk to you later.
I have not heard anything. Yeah.
So at the last meeting, we talked about the Hampton Inn and that we hadn't heard back from the state
Right.
yet. And given that the holidays, that's probably being a little bit optimistic. But if I don't hear something by the end of this month or maybe first part of February, I'll follow back up with them. They're juggling a lot of balls as well
Yeah.
with trying to finish their capital stack. So
Yeah, I
at some
understand.
point, we need to get approval of that. So. And I think there's some technical questions once we actually get that we'll have to work through as well about when capture can actually start, so.
Yeah, that's true.
Stay tuned on that one.
right.
Gateway project, Vidar mentioned the motion. Now that we've approved the minutes, I'll make sure that gets to council. I still owe the development team some information. Roman got it to me over the holidays. I haven't had a chance to put my eyes on it, but we'll get some of those questions answered, and hopefully they're continuing on in their process, so things will be breaking out here soon, hopefully. And then on the proposed Oprah and CRA downtown district, the city attorney had some questions on that, so we've put that larger district kind of on pause right now. The district that they talked about for this project will be a standalone district, and then once we get all the questions answered from the state and the attorney, then we'll go ahead with the larger district, but that's paused for right now till we can get those answers.
Right.
And again, not much was done over the holidays, just with people being out of the office. So that's where those three stand. Are there any questions about that or any other project or any other thing?
No, other than, like I say, we were upset about how it looks down there, but.
Yeah, and I'll make sure that that gets
Okay.
to the people that need to hear about that, so.
No, anything else? Somebody could, no, I guess go ahead. What else?
I don't have anything else. Roman, do you have anything to add on any of those projects?
No, I don't.
No, all right. Oh, and nobody know, I'm just throwing up out here. I heard rumor about a Domino. Any rumor about a Domino coming in?
Domino's Pizza.
That's what it said, Domino Pizza.
I mean,
Okay.
Roger, you may have better information than I have, but I haven't heard anything about that.
My
so.
wife tells me this stuff, I don't know. Just a minute, honey, I'll ask, nobody know. Well, I guess, anyhow, thank you very much for that. All right, next meeting date.
So I'd like to go ahead and schedule them, but until I get that document back and the developer agrees to it, if you guys can kind of be flexible, once I get that, we'll try to maybe do a little poll and figure out a date that we can meet. I guess I'm trying to figure out what works well in terms of time-wise for everybody. Do afternoon meetings work at like 5, or we used to have them at 3, one person couldn't make them. I know Shelley sometimes has trouble getting here unless it's like at 4 is probably the
Yeah.
earliest.
No, I don't have a problem, really. I retire.
As long as I know in advance.
Okay.
I
Okay,
mean,
so
I
we'll
nap
get,
from
we'll
1
get,
to
look for an
3.
email, we'll get that meeting scheduled. The other thing we'll need to do at that meeting is kind of do some of the annual stuff, so we'll have to get sworn in, do the election of officers and that sort of stuff. I didn't put it on this agenda because I knew we had a kind of a short time crunch with city council, and I wanted to get this through, so we'll have that on the next meeting as well.
All right, and then, so that'll be announced. Members' discussion, we'll start with the newest member. You know where you're at now? You're a
I-
member on the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority.
On the authority.
Right,
Authority member.
authority member.
I'm good. I don't have any
Okay,
discussion.
No.
no. Vito, anything that you want to explain? Oh, I just wanted to say we discussed the last meeting about training.
Yep,
I
we'll
didn't
get
hear
that
anything.
scheduled.
So that's coming up too?
Yep.
Okay, yeah. Other than that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. I'll make that motion and Vito will second it. All in favor say aye, aye. All opposed, and thank you this evening.
All right, very good. Thank you.
Very good.
Thank you, everybody, I appreciate it. Sorry about the elevator.
Sure.
Yeah, I had to run up all those stairs.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
We had a fire suppression line freeze and break Christmas morning
Oh, no.
You-
on the
yeah,
third
you knew it
floor.
had- Yeah,
Who got that call?
you knew it had to be on Christmas morning, my goodness.
I figured it was just under construction. I didn't realize you did.
It's a mess.
I'm
Was it
sure.
caused by Santa Claus and
It was caused by the, what is it, the old cartoon Cold Miser?